Hello, everyone. I wanted to make this kind of sentiment update video for BTC and altcoins, especially because I see there's some. Twitter is now like a ghost town. It's not my main indicator, of course, but it's really, I think it's very telling. I posted not long ago this collection of tweets in early January, late December, some of them, like here about Noel season, about selling everything you have, dead cat bounces, and all that shit. And I made my own collection with the recent local bottom in March, right? And it's the same thing. Every post shows no data, no charts, nothing to support that. So what is this? This is the typical behavior of an old, let's say, investor that only wants to make it big and make it quick, right? So the market, especially the crypto market, is brutal because you have tremendous upside, but also that means volatility to the downside as well, and that's what people don't really accept. That's why they get this frustration. They don't think for them a long time frame could be 2-3 months, right? So of course this happens. So I wanted to take a look and see what happened here. And I have already charted that myself, but I wanted to show you and compare it to now and see if data suggests that we should be worried or that everything is going okay. So late December, early January, and I open the BTC chart and I go to that late December, early January week, 28th of December, right? And January 4. What do we see? First thing I see, let me draw the horizontal line here with the previous all-time high, make it clear. And all I see is BTC has had a tremendous run from the COVID crash. In the very bottom, like 4K. And by then, by this area, 28 December, January, look at the price, 37K, 36K. Almost at a 10x. And the sentiment was completely like the cycle has been going down forever. It's incredible. What that shows is that most people are just full invested in altcoins. And what about these? BTC reaching an insane 95 almost RSI here on the weekly. The right moment, the very moment it started retracing. And these, if we compare to total 3, we can see that at that moment, total 3 was just dead. I mean, not even climbing together with BTC, something I have already explained. So the sentiment there was brutal. BTC has already surpassed the previous all-time high, and total 3 was not even close. I mean, just waking up a little bit, too far from breaking that. Currently, this is the pretty much the all-time high for total 3. We got rejected. And we are still far, but much closer than everything was back here. And BTC was really overextended and then printed this weekly divergence by the time total 3 was already waking up. So this was the sign. I mean, the divergence came here, right? The first one, weekly, very telling, and then it was distribution losing strength. That was the moment total 3 woke up. And all the impatience we had here, right? This is the date with all the tweets. I'm gonna kind of pin it here. What's exactly here? January 4th, right? You can see that 2, 4, 2, 4, 3. Total 3 was dead. So that shows, yes, pretty much no one was invested in BTC because I guess it was expensive, right? That's the pleb mentality, as if you had to buy a whole coin. And if we compare it to BTC dominance, what was BTC dominance doing? It had a second impulse, but making a lower high, right when BTC was already overheated. So do we think, if we see these conditions now, do we think this is the time for BTC to keep outperforming with a 95 RSI and after a pretty much 10x, just small drops in between? Right when people get fully desperate is when things start rolling over. Isn't that interesting? So what could we see now? People want an old season. I've been talking about BTC dominance, and if we have the breakdown, it doesn't mean it has to be a complete rollover and a huge old season. I said in a different post, and I have retweeted it a few times, let BTC run, and even BTC dominance, because if BTC dominance runs, also means BTC is leading, is still pushing, still has some fuel left, and the higher it goes, the better for us. All we have now is pure impatience, but the reward could be way better if we let BTC reach, let's say, 130, 150k, right? I saw in the previous video, Fibonacci video, the possible extensions for BTC. So far, Total 3 has been climbing. I saw this in a different video, higher highs, higher lows. What are we talking about? Just pure impatience, probably by new participant the first cycle, something like that, because otherwise I cannot understand. If you've been here for quite some time, you can't say that altcoins are doing shit. You just want them to do great all the time, and you want the upside without the downside. And sorry, when I mean you, I mean people in general. Okay, I'm not just saying you particularly. That's just the way I express myself. So everything's going well. It was lagging here. In fact, let's see what Total 3 was doing by that. Again, this is December, January. Look at this. Yes, it's what we saw. It was still climbing, right? But far from the previous all-time high. Here it was still climbing, right? But still, the big impulse, this tremendous breakout, the final hit rate, right? Here, was still pending. And that happened when this boy decided to roll over. That's all we need. We need first BTC to top, pretty much top. And we saw here, right? This was the last correction on the final impulse, printing the divergence. And we need BTC dominance to completely roll over. What if we see this another impulse? I wouldn't like to see that, but if it happens, it happens. I mean, could altcoins suffer temporarily? Sure. I mean, all this pain people saw here was just Total 3, let's say, more or less retracing a 20% move. If we had something like that now, 20% move would still be a high low. So what are we talking about here? I don't see that kind of retracement because the market has been pushing up in tandem. The only thing is Total 3 has been underperforming. And it is, in my opinion, because the move is still pending. Right? Here in the collection that I made, it was March, all around March. Right? I don't know if you have seen this post, but BTC dominance lately, no all-time high this cycle. Nothing hits all-time high. The cycle is over. I mean, over. What the fuck? Like, no old season, nothing. And then I open a chart. I'm gonna remove all this. I open a chart and I look for the March, that March week. I mean, it was here. Yeah. This was the time people was getting desperate. Tell me about a bottom. Tell me about a bottom. And again, no charts, nothing to support that, just pure sentiment. And if I go to Total 3 and I look for the March 10, more or less, what was Total 3 doing, technically speaking? Still a downtrend, this downtrend, right? Very oversold. And what was the structure doing? Higher high compared to this one. Looking for a higher low continuation. What can someone please explain to me what's wrong with this? Technically speaking, nothing. This was the top 2021. This is the top rejection. Yeah, let's look for a high low and try again. The thing is, these are weekly candles. So you see this, imagine this is the hourly chart. Yeah, I have to only wait a few hours. That's the issue with people here. That a few candles in this high time frame can be a month, 2 months. So in between, people get desperate, frustrated. Why isn't it moving? Why is it retracing? Why is this candle retracing? Are we going down? Dude, this is just the resistance level we saw and we talk about. Could it just, again, do something like this, retest this, try again, bam, boom? Yeah, absolutely. Could do that in the lower time frame. It could also, why not? We saw it here. It completely obliterated this resistance and went straight to all-time high. So what if next week or whatever, we don't even stop here. We break, retest, and go. So all of a sudden everything is great, and your coins are solving world problems. No, it's just let it all play. We are making higher highs and higher lows. We just had the cross on the weekly. What if we chop a little bit, even like in summer? I don't think we are in that stage, but could we just pull back to this support area, retest the MA and go back? Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, the structure here, January, December, this was accumulation, like a little cool off, no divergence inside on the weekly. We are making higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. What are we talking about? Right? This is the COVID crash, and all I see, if you want to make it like this was the whole structure. Yes, if you get to this particular weeks or months, yes, it could be painful if you hold, because this could be like a 60-70% drop for your altcoins, but the structure until the divergences is good. I guess it's painful because you were allocated higher, let's say here, and then you're still underwater. You could be allocated at the top because yes, that's when everything looks about to pump, when every microcap looks promising, and you get into the trap again, and now it gets frustrating, but everything looks good. It just, in my opinion, just simply lagging. If I compare BTC with Total 3, what do we see? This is the 2021 top. I have explained this many times. And BTC here surpassed the top, and it's in a new leg. This is the pending leg for altcoins. So if I compare it to 2020, Total 3, BTC was already in price discovery, way above the, let me show it here. Way above previous top, while Total 3 was sleeping, not even retesting. So it's all normal. So part of the process. By the time BTC reached the first overheated level was January 4th, and Total 3 didn't get there until February 15, a month and a half later. The weekly divergence, the first one, right, was in April, the second one in May. BTC, the first one in February, the second one in April. I mean, it's like a month and a half, more or less, lagging. So if you see the data, I don't see any reason to worry about. Let's go and see Ethereum BTC, but because Ethereum BTC bottomed way earlier in the after the bear market, like late January, late 2019, early 2020, right, and started outperforming. This is the choppy area. That's why I decided to draw this path. I mean, in case something similar could happen. And what do we have now? Bounced perfectly and break above in just one candle, one weekly candle. Could it retrace? We don't know, but it wouldn't be something that we haven't seen yet. All while BTC dominance was starting to chop or look choppy with this final push trap for Ethereum BTC and for altcoins, this final push, and then complete rollover. These are the kind of periods. I mean, it was really extended there from September 2019 to December, right? Like a whole more than a year before rolling over. Do we have to see the same thing now? Not necessarily, but what if? What if we have just another weekly impulse, right, for BTC, for altcoins, like we've seen here, March, early 24, late 24, early 25, right? What if we see another push like that? BTC dominance doesn't really top, it just retraces and then pushes up again. And then it all completely rolls over in the true old season in Q4. Why not? That would align with 4-year cycle. But for now, that theory is still alive. I don't like people positioning themselves like a contrarian just for the sake of it. I mean, it hasn't been invalidated yet until we get to the 4-year mark, and then we can say, okay, what's going to happen? Has it really topped here or not? So trying to say it has or hasn't happened yet, or it's invalidated now, it's impossible. That only shows ego and potentially an emotional take. We have to wait. So what if we have another weekly push? Yes, altcoins push a little bit more, perhaps test, as I said here, test break even the all-time high, and now we have like a 2-3 month, let's say summer, a retest here, while BTC dominance on the week, on the monthly, completely rolls over eventually. We are still far. This retracement up this week up is invalidating. I mean, we were close early in May. That's why you need to, for the month to close. What if we have another bounce here and then Q4 will roll over? So if you are getting your expectations of thinking that it's a mix of what you want, what we might see, and you just start believing that it has to happen now in the next weeks or a couple of months, and then it doesn't happen, you think, what next? What's going on? Is it over? Just follow data. And we need confirmation. For now, we wanted the weekly break below for quite some time. This candle is shaping like a reversal candle for now. But we also saw that here. Pull back into a fake out after breaking below, and this ended being a various retest rejected by this level. So what if we just pull back here? RSI gets to the MA, we got rejected by Fibonacci, and this Fibonacci that was support here for quite some time, it ends up being resistance, and we confirm the break of a structure. This candle is engulfing, so that could be meaningful. This was a trap, and then we completely rolled over. We still have to wait. Stock RSI is in, if this was an altcoin or any other coin, trying to buy now would be like anticipating, in my opinion. We just broke here, and this for now could be a new downtrend. Stock RSI suggests that we are in no man's land. Could we push back up again? Sure. But the time we did that, for example here, it was always above the MA. So the moment you break below, you are already here, no man's land, and we have broken below. I would wait for a break above again and a retest to believe that, okay, we have another push. Until then, there's nothing wrong. The thing is, this week, this candle that dropped to 62.25, something like that I wanted to be resistance. I said this was very, very fast, the daily, and I was a little bit surprised, but the rollover was possible. And now what we are seeing is a potential reversal. This daily RSIMA will tell us if this is just the confirmation of rollover from overheated levels, double bottom here with a small bullish divergence, and the confirmation that this is a new downtrend because it gets rejected here. What did we see in Q4? We lost it from these pretty much similar overheated levels. We bounced from these oversold levels, similar to this. We could say, okay, we are making a higher high here. But RSI said, nope, this is a divergence, got rejected, tried again, and eventually gave up into Q4 until reaching very, very overheated levels and printing this kind of double bottom here with a small bullish divergence like we have now. However, the weekly, this was December, 5th of December, the weekly was already quite below the levels that we are seeing now, together with USDT and stuff. USDT hasn't even reached the 3.73 mark, which was the place that it said I would reassess, and perhaps it acts as support now, again, sorry, and that validates the theory of having just another multi-week push, but not the real cycle top euphoria. That could end up coming in Q4, and we have another summer of correction. Would you be ready for that? That's the question. If people are getting so impatient right now, after like 4 months of correction, because I assume they didn't sell back in December, what if we have another push, like 4 or 5 weeks pushing, test a new all-time high for total 3, perhaps breaking above it, and just make people wait for a few more for months, like a few more months? What if we see this kind of painful scenario? We test this again and we get rejected. This could make people believe it's another top, it's freaking over, it's over. And this is just making a higher low, because this level hasn't been held as support ever, pretty much here, but it was lost eventually. And then we attack it, break again in Q4. What if we have this, let's say June until September, October, we start moving up again and we top in Q4, right? We do something like this, retest, and off we go, because the monthly still has room for that, right? We cross, retest, confirm like this, and we push another time. So I think that could be possible. Would you be ready for that? That's the question. So I think everything looks fine. Here people were panicking. Here they were as well, calling for everything to be over. Right? And all we needed was a little bit more patient, because if you follow data, you know that here total 3 altcoins in general here are lagging. This is where people were getting desperate. Structurally speaking, I open this chart and I say, okay, there's no reason to be desperate. Perhaps it's your decisions, your back coins, your entries, your positions, whatever. That's what is making you so desperate. And again, we just had here the this break above the 80, this mark, the Delta bounce in 2022, and I said we could attack this, and we attacked and opened and broke it. We didn't even retest it yet, so even going back to 845, something like that, would be healthy. Losing a little bit more, that could mean like a 10-15% more, another drop for your altcoin, and that could just be a retest of the MA. I mean, it's all good. In hindsight, you see this, okay, and you see this positive, right? Like, okay, we broke, we tested twice, we hold, okay, we are good to go. This job could really mess with people. This was early September, pure disbelief. I posted in September that bears are about to get fucked again, because I saw this. I saw the structure changing, reclaim after this top and losing this in April. This was a rejection. So until we break and hold, there's nothing to celebrate, or we can't say we're back. Structure, the lows were clear. We were reclaiming this structure, not making a higher high yet, but a higher low above the MA. So this was compression, and this compression ended in this huge break above. And now we have acceptance around here, right? This week down here, the candle closing here, so we are reclaiming this level, making a higher low. And now we are on our way to make a higher high, surpassing the all-time high. So I don't know what's wrong with this. Nothing is wrong with this. The same way it wasn't here. The structure was clearly changing. In fact, this top area right? You can play with the wick or the candle, whatever. So this was being held as support. So even if when you see this since August to November, I see this for all coins and I say, okay, big accumulation above the previous resistance, previous high time frame resistance. What was support became resistance, 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 and now we are over. We are above with no signs of weakness. Okay, buckle up. This could be it. This was October, November. What was the monthly suggesting back then? Okay, the monthly was above the MA. We had all the ingredients for another push. What? The thing is, you had to wait a few more months, and people was getting frustrated here when we were started moving up. Again, data over sentiment. We all want 20, 30, whatever X for our altcoins, but we don't want to go through this phase at all, and that's a problem. You can't have that kind of upside potential without pullbacks. Look at the way it is all shaping. If we break here with these levels, I think we could be in for a surprise, but this is the monthly. It could take quite some time. Imagine we get above the 70 mark here, like Q4, September, October, and we push into the late 2025. Who knows? It's impossible to tell now. All I see is the market has given us another opportunity, and this break below, perhaps, if it's not rejected here, if it's rejected, I think it's over. But the structure doesn't suggest we are about to get rejected, right? Let's say this attempt was happening at the all-time high. I could say, okay, perhaps there is weakness, but how I switch to the weekly and I see weakness right into resistance again, and right when the monthly is facing resistance, and I say perhaps this is just a fake pump, an exit pump. But what I see now is the monthly getting ready, the structure being higher highs and higher lows, and the weekly is still in a new cycle. The breakout happened here. The break here again. It looks boring until it isn't. So here, price pretty much flat, RSI, yeah, fake up, but climbing, slowly climbing. The change in the structure was here. I have drawn this for BTC many times. This was a clear downtrend while the price was still pushing, right? And then the bear market starts shifting a little bit. The first hint, January, like 2022, May, January, the bottom of the bear market, the change in the trend. However, this change, you had to wait pretty much flat, right? Pretty much flat in this accumulation rate. Now it looks like accumulation because we know it's a breakup, but you had the change here. The strength was building while it was accumulating from May 2022 to October 2023. Think about that, like a year and a half, and then we broke this range and we never looked back. We got very overheated here, and the rollover coincided with holding and establishing a new accumulation range last year. What are we doing now? We broke, we couldn't hold this area, but we're still making a high low, and even above this 2024 high and about this dead cat bounce area. What's wrong about this? We break, we couldn't hold, right? But we're trying to break again. We might retest and off we go. This RSI double bottom, I mean, everything looks great. We just need time. Seriously, we just need to wait. BTC dominance, I don't care. If you retrace here or fake us, it looks like it eventually will go down. The weekly, I said this RSI wasn't able to break it, and it hasn't been able to break it. It's rolling over. Again, no man's land. I wouldn't enter here if I wanted to buy BTC dominance. This is no man's land. This is the kind of chop that ruins people, right? You try to enter and then you eat more chop and chop, like BTC did, like BTC did here in this chop. This is a downtrend, but you think that perhaps we are back. No, yes, no, yes, yes, and you get just completely chopped. Just let the higher time frame or the trend to establish first. And again, the monthly, I said this is the only potential divergence we have now. Again, I said it and I will repeat it. This is the only data point we have. We have two, but we need that apparently. Here we need to break below the MA. Here in Q4, we have this huge wick back closed above. And we only have our retest. We need to break. So that's all we have now. Everything looks good for continuation. There's no reason to worry about. We have for BTC, I'm gonna open my main chart. Okay, this is not my main chart. Whatever, I'm gonna use this anyway. So we had this price action. We had the reversal. We are climbing, no divergence inside. There's nothing to worry about. This could end, as I said, end up being just this, while stock RSI just corrects. So everything looks good. Just let everything play out. And if it takes a bit longer, the thing is, will we have another multi-week push for BTC and altcoins, or will this all end up in huge push by BTC, like in 2021? Huge push ends up in this overheated area with a divergence, and everything repeats. We still don't know. It's impossible to know until we keep climbing and we see the speed the BTC reaches, right? And perhaps the Fibonacci where it stops. We need to wait. But everything looks good. I mean, if you've been following me for quite some time, we've been in a way worse place, right? Remember that in here, April 8th, BTC was weakening down to 74, and now we are impatient at 103. Just think about that, let that sink in. Like a month and a half later, the move for BTC has been big, quite big actually from the week, like a 38% move. If we open total 3, from the bottom, the move has been pretty much the same. So they are moving in tandem actually. So total 3 hasn't really had its moment yet. It's all good. We can't say we are worse here than we were back here. The thing is, we want everything to run. And if we see our altcoins specifically pulling back like a 5, 8, 10% or retracing in the last few days move, we think it's over. Or what's going on? Is this weakness? This is BTC dominant, and we start trying to get a conclusion because we are in a hurry and we are stuck in very low time frame because we are checking the charts 20 times a day. But that's not how high time frame develops, right? I had there is something here. I wanted to check out one of these notifications here. Bobby posted not long ago. This market, let me just look for it. Give me a second. This, if you have a get rich quick mindset and sweat the daily noise, this market will chew you up and speed you back over until you are minced meat, right? You have a strategy and patience, and that's the way to make it, in my opinion. Crypto has such a big upside that focusing on anything lower than the high time frame, let's say weekly, for me is the sweet spot. It's focusing on anything lower is painful, in my opinion, unless you're a trader. And even if you're a trader, your mind gets like really tangled and confused many times because you are used to having so much action daily here in crypto that by the time we enter any choppy period for weeks, people lose their mind. That's more a personal issue than a market issue. So you either adapt and realize that by compounding, you can really make it big here. You don't need to get the most out of the market. You don't need to time the entries perfectly. All you need is patience because the upside is here, right? Tell anyone that in less 2 years and a half, right? You have like a 6x potential. You multiply your money by 6 in 2 years or 2 years and a half. I mean, anyone would sign for that. Oh, but you have to wait 2.5 years, and then there is a chop in between. But yes, but the potential is there. Okay. Thing is, we are impatient. We don't buy the lows because everything looks awful here. And then you open a channel and say, "Boy, I should have bought here." But you normally end up buying the top because to the moon and stuff. So let it all run. I think everything is going well. We just need more time. We have the weekly breakout, as I said many times. Just let it all play. So I won't make this any longer. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.